Welcome back one and all, my name's Eltimar and we are going to be continuing our Let's Play of Tyranny. Where we left off last time, we were actually left Tunon's court, but as pointed out in the previous video, we should probably talk to the other Fatebinders as well as Tunon one more time before we go gallivanting off to Lethian's Crossing. So let's take a look here. Apparently she doesn't want to talk. Sevius says, I am duty-bound to remain civil to you in this vaunted court, but don't push it, traitor. Not happy with me. Fatebinder, the lieutenant gives you a curt nod. I'm ill at ease in this polished hall, but I admit it's a reprieve from the battlefield and training grounds. If Ash needs me to stay here and represent his interests throughout the occupation, then I'll be up to the task. It can't be worse than our days in Lethian's Crossing. Joking aside, you were generous to grant the disfavored control over the city. Even the Iron Legion needs a break from the front every once in a while. Apparently she doesn't mind us too much. The other Fatebinders are here, of course. There are several, actually. Hang on. Oh, we have to go. I see. We can't actually sneak by the underside of this sort of pillar, not pillar, but balcony type area. Let's talk to Chucklebones. You'll be wanting to speak with the lady and his honor. Fatebinder Furia. The circumstances were, well, it was madness, your honor. No one could be expected to act in a rational way. No? Perhaps I expect too much of my servants. Is that it? No, your honor. But if you hear my testimony, I think you'll understand. I see a better alternative has presented itself. Fatebinder, will you audience this case in my stead? I am curious what matter of conclusions you will draw. I'm ready to hear the case. Excellent, the testimony will begin. I'm afraid it's a sensitive matter. I was away from the city, seeing to a military camp, when I discovered two Scarlet Chorus soldiers. She clears her throat, and holds her posture firm, defiling a woman. A local from the Tiers? Yes, and as I understand it, it's a common enough occurrence in that army, but I couldn't stand for it. I was brought up to know better. She looks up at Tunon. I was taught to be better. What happened next? I fought the recruits. They fought back. But in the end, my skills won out. After they were both dead, I let the poor woman go. Their gang boss witnessed everything, though he didn't intervene until it was all done. I was trussed up, and brought back to court in a wagon, where you find me now. And what fine company you have made on the journey over. The gang boss spreads his lips open in a toothy grin. The defendant is charged with the murder of subjects who were owed protection of Kairos' law. Fatebinder, I assume you wish to cross-examine. I'm going to ask Tunon, why isn't the victim of the assault a matter of concern? She was a denizen of the Tiers. She has no rights under Kairos' law. This is a simple murder trial, and the defendant stands before you. I would caution against burdening yourself with extraneous variables. The gang boss didn't intervene at all. If my recruits couldn't defend themselves against a glorified clerk, then their lives were forfeit as far as I was concerned. Good riddance. I'm still happy to get the satisfaction out of the matter. The law is the law. All he did was joke about how the court would be merciless, laughed all the way to the bastard city. Didn't seem particularly bent out of shape over his lost men. That sounds about right. Did you speak with the Tiers woman? Only briefly. She thanked me before fleeing. I didn't want to keep her. She'd suffered enough at the hands of those soldiers. You don't think she said anything about wishing to join the army? She glances at you with frank curiosity. The army? Not that I... Thinking she frowns. I'm going to try and guide the witness. And she definitely wasn't in the area for that purpose. Her eyes widen as she realizes your intent. The Fatebinder nods. That's right. She only mentioned it in passing, but she told me that she was attempting to make contact with the Scarlet Chorus. You know, to join them. That was when the soldiers attacked. I hope this has a point, Fatebinder. Do you regret your actions? She frowns and thought, no. If our positions were reversed, I would have wanted someone to step in on my behalf. Kairos' law be damned. She glances up at Tunon with momentary unease. Suppose I should keep my distance from the Scarlet Chorus in the future. I might not be able to restrain myself if I saw it happening again. I'm ready to give my ruling now. Very good. Present the verdict and let us be done with this unpleasant affair. If the woman intended to join the Scarlet Chorus, she was protected under Kairos' law. Your actions were just. She delivers a bow of gratitude, holding your eye contact the entire time. Thank you for hearing my case. Fatebinder Furia, you have ducked Kairos' punishment with a technicality. Be more mindful of your delicate position in the future. Your grasp of Kairos' law troubles me. It reeks of independent thoughts, honed beyond the principal walls of my court. And yet it is your ruling. Dismissed. Yikes. Well, I did the right thing there. I will not pretend to understand the strategic decisions you have made, but they are yours all the same. The Fatebinder of War claps you with excessive strength on the back, a greeting and a warning both. Even so, I'm curious about your travels in the Tiers. Come, let us speak freely. How are you singled out to become a Fatebinder? I cannot speak for the other Fatebinders, but I joined the court when I was still a boy, and impetuous beyond reason. I had been imprisoned with a death sentence for the crime of desecrating corpses. He laughs hard and hearty. It was nothing so exciting as you are no doubt imagining. I was imagining something. I was merely burning corpses that awaited burial. Before the local authority could see me to the gallows, the adjudicator claimed me a great talent, waiting to be realized, needing only to be steered. Why burn the bodies? Corpses piling in the streets spread plague faster than the filthiest of rats. I was but 10 and a weak fighter. I did what I could for my homeland. Why was it a crime? There was a time when even the Northmen were superstitious stock. A time before Kairos brought reason to the realms. The people of my city believed that, without proper rites, I was cheating our fallen warriors from returning to the land. It's a good thing Tyranny spared you. As I have said, the adjudicator saw within me something of rare value, as is true for us all. You as well were chosen for our great court, for which I am grateful. As the Fatebinder of War, I rely heavily on your talents. Let's talk about something else. I'm curious about Tynon's masks. They can be rather unsettling, can't they? Even to one such as me. But I can assure you, the innocent need not fear their objective, a motionless gaze. What of the adjudicator's masks specifically would you like to know? I want to know about the silent face. The silent face is the face that Tyranny shows us now, and for that we are fortunate beyond belief. The silent face is a patient face, a face for listening as Tyranny presides over all matters brought to the court, taking great pains to ensure all sides of an issue are heard. How about the face of resolve? Tynon's last dawning of the face of resolve was the moment he judged and called to ruin half of the districts in the bastard city. Since then, he has ruled our northern tier justly, calmly, and with efficient diplomacy. I want to know about the face that is no more. Tyranny is said to have worn a third mask in aeons past. I have heard rumors that the face displeased Kairos and thus was destroyed, as happens to all persons and objects that displease our overlord. Have you ever seen Tyranny change his mask? In the way that you or I would change our raiment? No, not as such. And yet, I have seen the masks shift. They switch without the adjudicator or anyone so much as laying a hand on them. It's not something you can watch unfold. After a time, you merely realize it has already happened. There is work enough for the court that we shouldn't occupy ourselves wondering over mysteries. I have other questions. Could you remind me of the history and origin of the Fatebinders? The seasoned warrior rubs a finger against the line of stubble along his cheek. We are a relatively young order, though we have spanned these past 2 centuries. While the voices of Nerat and Graven Ash need armies to execute their will, Tyranny wields but a modest court of vassals. We exist as extensions of the law. There is no place in all of the Teratus beyond our judgment. Tell me about Kairos' armies, our allies. Ah yes, with friends like these, our work is often self-explanatory. Were you asking about the chorus or the disfavored? The chorus. The Scarlet Chorus soldiers hail from every corner of every realm. As the chorus marches, it conscripts indiscriminately from those it has conquered to replenish its ranks. There's no continuity of command in the chorus. Nerat allows, encourages even, the strong to challenge their leaders. But the chorus has numbers, and brute force is almost always a viable option, much as Rogalis insists otherwise. Besides, the Scarlet Chorus draws its strength from the multitudes it swallows. Its blood chanters have taken knowledge from various tiers mystics, and many of the chorus's best soldiers were grown here in the south. Disfavored. The disfavored are the iron tip of Kairos' great phalanx. Armed with the best weapons, the most comprehensive training, and led by the brilliant Graven Ash, the disfavored have no equals in open battle. The Legion has a saying, Graven Ash protects, and it's no empty boast. The Archon of War is able to lend his will and strength to his soldiers, to give them endurance beyond human limits. I have great respect for the disfavored, but I know where I stand with them. They are a very close-knit band, all of them from northern families, many of them related to each other. None of all sighs, his smile wistful, but considering our role in the great hierarchy, I can't fault General Ash for being selective. Next person. Fatebinder Callio. Regards Eltimar, you look as if you need something. Callio tips her head to one side, a glimmer of curiosity in her dark, discerning eyes. What can I do for you? Callio gently touches a gentle hand to your shoulder. Has anything happened while I was away? There have been whispers that Cairn grew disloyal to Graven Ash's command during the campaign in Azure. I took up the mantle of investigation near Plainsgate, and judging the rumors to be true, dispatched Cairn by proclaiming Kairos' Edict of Stone. The very earth turned against the traitorous Archon as the region split asunder in righteous judgment. You seem to know much of my actions. Have you been spying on me? Don't act surprised. It's my duty to ensure that those who operate under the Adjudicator's name adhere to the spirit of his law, if not the very letter. And those who don't will be dealt with, swiftly and efficiently, at the point of Bledenmark's blade. The Fatebinder slips his slim dagger from the folds of her purple garb, flipping the weapon almost idly in the air. Of course, that is assuming I don't dispatch them first. I take my duty seriously, and I'm very, very good at it. How have you occupied your time in the bastard city? Tunon sends me on assignments here and there. I settle disputes between the locals when the Adjudicator is otherwise occupied. She smirks. Everything from trade disagreements to pushing chorus squatters out of basements. Real rewarding work. She waves it off. The glory of war is not an open honor reserved for the likes of us. We are the fish swimming in Tunon's wake, picking up scraps along the way. We're rather large and imposing compared to the bottom feeders of the tiers, but fish all the same. Tell me more about Tunon. Tunon is the Overlord's fair and exacting adjudicator. He speaks with the voice of Kairos' law, and his word is judgment. All of this and more you can learn by asking him yourself. Go on. Or does he intimidate you still? She chuckles softly. I jest, of course. More concerns. You're free to share them in my confidence. She leans in closer. We cannot crush the opposition with such weak efforts. We are too lenient. I don't disagree with you, but bear in mind that these southern barbarians are being welcomed into the Empire. Kairos places no value in a mountain of tiersmen corpses, at least none that I could fathom. Hang on. I want to see something else. No, I'm going to say our armies squabble at each other's throats. Divided we cannot win. I am less concerned about the armies than the Archons themselves. There can be no order when mountains collide. Who would you see as champion? I'm going to say neither. They're both equally at fault and equally inept. Her mood darkens. Then who would you lead And then who would lead our advances, or be left to deliver Kairos' peace? Would you wear this responsibility as a crown upon your head? You may find it a heavy burden to bear. I can handle it. The Adjudicator trusts your prowess, but in this I am more discriminating. You should be as well. We're letting people know we have intentions to rule a little bit. Fatebinder Rogalis. Fatebinder, you return. Rogalis looks up at you with an inscrutable expression, up and down at us. You look as if you have questions for me to untangle. Ask. I am feeling generous. Tell me about some of the past Archons. Rin, the second Archon of Lightning, often struggled to control the power that roiled within him. If he suffered but a single slip of concentration, he risked an instant electrocution into his touch, or he so claimed after killing the first Archon of Water during a diplomatic embrace. He totally just assassinated him. What a liar. Where do you study when you were younger? I've been a ward of the court for as long as I've been aware. As a child, I demonstrated wholly perfect recall and absorbed all that Tunon and my tutors had to offer. I remember hating all the lectures and wishing I could learn at my pace. Funny how I envied the sages of the tiers, how they could spend their entire lives reading and never exhaust their library. Of course, now the Vellum Citadel is nothing more than a burned waste. What do you think of the other Fatebinders? You'll need to be more specific than that, I'm afraid. There is, on last count, slightly more than a handful of us. The war. Nunaval's keen, brash, and hardy braggart, with a fondness for bloodshed. He can be utterly unbearable at times. His justice is fair, even if he skews towards rather exacting and uncompromising punishments at times. How about the balanced one? Kaleo is the finest among us. Her discernment is beyond reproach, and she is perhaps Tunon's favorite. She has a mind for suspicion and observation that makes others uneasy. We who operate within the confines of the law have nothing to fear, of course. You'll need to know. What's your opinion of me? Whatever it may have been, it is reduced of late. Rogalis pierces you with a severe look. No matter why you lent your favor to the southern barbarians, it has cast you in the darkest suspicion. Be advised, Fatebinder, your objectivity is in question. We will be watching. Well, that's not good. Can you tell me about the old walls and the Bane? Old walls first. We know little enough about the ancient structures, save that they predate all historical record. The forbidding ruins crisscross the tiers north and north alike centuries before we raised our cities. The only one old enough to guess is likely Kairos. How about the Bane? The Bane are found in the old walls, but much of their defining qualities still escape me. They are creatures of smoke, claw, and fang. If you find yourself unfortunate enough to fight one, remember that spells are effective against them, but grab the attention of others lurking near. Okay. Tell me more about the tiers. The political entities of the tiers are essentially split between the Bastard City, the Younger Realms, and the Free Cities. Of which would you like to know? The Bastard Tier. The Bastard Tier is the most northern of the tiers, and was first to bow to Kairos' reign, though the knee they bent fell unwillingly. Kairos had his eye on the Bastard Tier for many years before he marched on our capital city. This is the hub of trade and commerce. Claim the markets and the people will follow. How about the Younger Realms? The Younger Realms sprawl the middle, and southernmost tiers and can be catalogued as follows. Apex, Azure, Haven, and Stalwart. Azure was renowned for its exceptionally fertile land, which fed the whole of the tiers. That was before Kairos' Edict of Stone blighted the land. Stalwart is also worth mention, for it comprises the whole of the southernmost tier, and provides the toughest and most defensible of all the realms. Proofs. It is often said that the other realms will not fall while Stalwart yet stands. The local army wages bitter war against the disfavored, though the Edict of Storms has cut off their best of defenses. It is only a matter of time before Stalwart falls. Free cities. There are 3 free cities remaining: Last Harbor, Spiral's Maw, and Barris in Chains. The first and strongest of the free cities was the Setting Sun, which Kairos crushed in 429, with the Edict of Tumult. After that, the remaining free cities were quick to surrender. I don't think I have anything more I want. Oh, sages. I will not speak of the sages. They are no better than charlatans and cons, wholly selfish in their ill pursuit to hoard all knowledge from others. They are self-blinded by their own deceptions and clever manipulations. They alone cause their own undoing and are solely to blame for the burning library, one of the most grievous wrongs in the known histories, for which they can never be forgiven. Alright, we're going to talk to our boss one more time. We're going to try and not make him unhappy, because we kind of want him on our side. He is our boss, and let's take a look at what our standing with him is currently. Pretty good. We're in pretty good favor. If we can get a little bit... Oh, we need a reputation change to unlock that tier. So we're pretty much as high as we can go at this point. But yeah, he more or less likes us right now, which is good. It's better than having him hate us. He is, after all, an Archon, and they are very powerful. You return. It is gratifying to see that the war has not caused you to forget your roots. What is it you wish to know? Tell me about Kairos. Kairos is our overlord. She ushers us from the brink of chaos with a stern hand, and gestures to the way of peace. We are only too eager to follow her perfect example. How old is Kairos? By our reckoning, her age upon Taratus is magnificent. Her true span defies measurement by our limited construct of time. It would be a waste to spend our few pitiable years attempting to solve that riddle of existence. Think of Kairos not as a subject to beginnings or ends. Kairos is, and Kairos will ever be. What's your relationship to Kairos? She is my master, and I your dutiful pupil. In this respect, you and I are no different. I have the honor of Kairos' confidence. She trusts me to exact her law upon the boundless territory of her rule. I am only too grateful to serve. I am the voice of Kairos' will, the harbinger of her judgment, and the arm of her justice. Do you think that her laws are fair? That is an irrelevant question. Kairos' law, it is the responsibility of fairness to conform to Kairos' definition of it, and anyone who believes otherwise is an agent of anarchy. Contemplate this as you deliver Kairos' peace to the frontier. If you fail to understand the importance and immutability of Kairos' law, then your work is but a perversion of justice. I couldn't help that you refer to Kairos as a woman. Beware that the trajectory of thought, save for her perfection, there is little about Kairos to which we should ascribe recognizable attributes. A power as distant as unknowable as the Overlord should transcend our petty dualities. Male, female, it makes no difference. Kairos is mother to us all. Okay then, tell me about Bledenmark. He is my headsman, and an assassin without equal. His official designation is in Kairos' hierarchy as the Archon of Shadows, though I wonder that he ever considers himself aught but a slayer of the unjust. Does Bledenmark serve you alone? Your question is flawed. We are all servants to Kairos. The Archons are also agents of their own interests, those chosen few empowered to bring order to the world in accordance with Kairos' peace. At present, Bledenmark is my vassal and I his patron. The relationship is not so different from Graven Ash and Cairn, the fallen Archon, or the voices of Narot and his songbird Siren, who's in our party. Me, the vassal of that psychotic monster, even if I were still working with him, it would be as a peer, not an underling. Siren keeps her voice low, ensuring that Tunon doesn't overhear her comments. Such partnerings and apprenticeships are common. They provide mutual benefit to the Archons involved, as well as a measure of oversight. How did he earn his title? His work away from the court takes Bledenmark to the dark places of the world. The Tiers and the Northern Empire alike. Over time, the Shadows became his dominion. They cloak him, protect him, and even fight for him if the need arises. It is said that Bledenmark can travel to any place where the Shadows are cast. Only he would know this for certain. Other questions? I'm curious about you, Archon. Curiosity is not a trait that I encourage in my subjects. Too often have I witnessed such activity leading down a path of lawlessness. However, if you feel that a better understanding of me will inform your work, then I will allow it. What would you know? Did you come up with the Office of Fatebinders? Indirectly, yes. Just as I am the representative of Kairos' law across Tyrannus, you are the face of my judgment for the people. I took inspiration from the Overlord's example, as we all should. Why is curiosity such a problem? Because my vassals are not selected for their independence of thought. You are an agent of law, the execution of which falls within strict confines. Your intellect may aid the tasks ahead of you, but your unwavering obedience is of greater value to me. I understand, Archon. Be sure that you do. Tell me about your rise to become adjudicator. Curb your ambition, student. My path to this dais is not one that can be replicated under any circumstances. However, if your curiosity is determined, I will tell you my story. My sage friend here would add it to his chronicle, that others might learn from it. Why, yes, I'd be most honored. Lantry grabs his largest quill and pulls out a fresh sheet of parchment. For the first time you've ever seen him not start a note from the back of a prior work in progress. I came into the world centuries ago, before the dream of a unified northern empire was fully realized. My home country lay far from the borders of Kairos' realm, and our conquest was a matter of distant speculation. Decades before a rumor of Kairos' approach grew in panicked volume, I familiarized myself with the intricacies of her law. It took me no time at all to realize the benefits of our inevitable subjugation. I took it upon myself to rise in my country's governance, not as arbiter of law and a drafter of covenants. As an arbiter of law and drafter of covenants, building some notoriety for my execution of fair justice. As my influence and the trust of my people evolved, my decisions transcended to define future precedent. Go on. What my countrymen could not have surmised was that I had woven into our customs the very backbone of Kairos' law. I set the stage for the conquest of our floundering nation to join the Overlord's empire. By the time the Overlord's armies presented themselves and offered terms of surrender, we had adopted Kairos' peace in all but name. Our absorption into the Northern Empire was a matter of legal formality, negligible changes to our already beloved document of law. The people credited me with the architect of peace, and for a time called me Tunon the Fair. As my importance grew in their estimate, Kairos could not help but learn of the part I played in her bloodless victory. Kairos' law has a breadth of intricacies that is unapproachable to the masses. I was chosen to interpret it, and represent the Overlord's will across the Northern Empire and beyond. This time as adjudicator, it is my pride, my duty, and my life. What does it mean to be an Archon? I am a figure of power and significance, and under Kairos' mandate I am able to exercise my authority for the benefit of all. Had I not earned the Overlord's approval, I would not stand tall before you. Could anybody become an Archon? Absolutely not. Only precious few grow into this authority. Were it otherwise, Tyrannus would descend into pandemonium. Of those few who rise into power, fewer still have the self-control to make lawful use of their talents, and those who can, fewer still, are deemed worthy of Kairos' approval. Did you come into power yourself, or did Kairos foster your talents? An astute question. Doubtless I exhibited some spark of potential on my own, insignificant though, enough to accomplish the deeds of note. Only under Kairos' tutelage have I grown to these heights. Let's go back to my other questions about you. I'm not going to ask, well, what's the deal about your mask? This should be obvious to you by now, student. Since the answer is relevant to your duties, I will tolerate your ignorance and explain. The face is an uncontrollable warren of muscle spasms and reactionary contortions, sickening in its display of every petty bias. It cannot be trusted to audience or judged a dispute without navigating a gauntlet of subjectivity for all to witness. Go on. In my early days before the Northern Empire spread to my lands, I fashioned the mask of listening out of stern, uncaring wood. This expression of enduring patience harkens the testimony of my petitioners, taking in all evidence before weighing the matters in due course. Later in my career, Kairos herself gifted me the Mask of Resolve. You will find it almost identical to the Mask of Listening, save for the brow furrowed in contemplation and weighed down by the burden of judgment. This is the face that dispenses law, often the most exacting and unforgiving sort. I wore it when I brought Kairos' devastating judgment to the bastard city, and doubtless I will wear it again. What do you look like under the masks? Tunon hovers in silence, staring down at you. Your Honor? The shadows wreathing Tunon's feet whip about like waves in a storm, ebbing and flowing in your direction. An unmistakable air of danger fills the room. Back away slowly. Well, he didn't like that. I wish to speak about matters of law. Then you are well situated, for my court is the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity? You are already well versed in Kairos' laws, but I am happy to discuss the particulars. Remind me how the Overlord's name can be used. It is not forbidden to cross one's tongue with Kairos' name, but it behooves one to use caution and respect. The Overlord's name is not yours to give, whether to progeny, product, location, or abstraction. Slander of the Overlord is punishable by death. There is only one Kairos, and her name is her safeguard. No one may say Kairos and have it obfuscated by a second meaning. Neither will her name be associated to trivialities. A gambler will not attribute his fortune to Kairos' luck, or his misfortune to Kairos' scorn. Such an association lowers the Overlord in public estimate and is rightfully considered slander most foul. Am I beholden to the laws? That should not be in question. We are all subjects of Kairos. Her laws define and regulate our very way of life. With that said, as an agent of law, you are granted more leeway than a soldier or citizen. You may find yourself compelled to commit morally questionable acts in the name of Kairos. If it serves the court's justice, much may be forgiven. Thank you, that's really what I wanted to know. Let's talk about quotas and sharing. The harvest blooms and blights by the will of Kairos. In times of lean, you will be fed. In times of wealth, you will feed others. This law is a sizable category unto itself, serving many needs at once, tax and trade being only two examples. The broadest intent of the law is to empower Kairos' subjects to care for their neighbor and expect care in return. It's communist socialism, sort of. You may take note of the law's application to trade. A merchant's right to peddle their wares is defined by permits and granted annually. The regional authority has the right to decide if a merchant sells cabbage one year and sandals the next. Anyone breaking through the restrictions is subject to immediate forfeiture of all assets. You need not concern yourself over the nuances, at least until they apply to this contested realm in a time of peace. Tell me about the peace. The cornerstone of our wartime efforts, of course, Kairos' peace guarantees all willing supplicants under the Overlord's authority a place in her world. The exact wording of the bylaw is, your life is not yours to discard. The Overlord has plans for you. Sounds like, a little bit like Portal 2. Like Aperture. Let us discuss the old walls. The old walls are forbidden, as are their contents and their denizens. Owning any item from the old walls is considered trespass regardless of how it came into your possession. Mind that in the course of your travels. As the old walls extend much of the tiers and Northern Empire alike, Kairos permits her subjects to pass only where she has sculpted the landscape to permit traverse. Under no circumstances are you to enter a breach in the old walls, even for a task as innocent as crossing to the other side. We're going to be doing that, probably. If these restrictions seem too severe, I would remind you that they are for the protection of Kairos' subjects. The Overlord has no desire to see the harm needlessly inflicted upon her loyal followers. And the Mage's Folly. Practitioners of the arcane arts must be sanctioned by one of Kairos' guilds, such as the Bloodchanters or the Forge-bound. Rogue magicians with a tenuous grasp of unknown powers will not be tolerated. A sanctioned mage whose spellcasting causes damage to life or property is lawfully deemed innocent. As long as they practice their art in the service of Kairos, all is forgiven. How about forbidden knowledge? Kairos herself sets the standards for what can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely enforced, but they are worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kairos deemed the knowledge of the Vellum Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of that fallen repository, save Kairos herself. Calling it all taboo seems a bit overkill, but to play Kairos' advocate, the world would hardly be safer if all had access to the lore of making poisons or the art of arming brigands in fine bronze. This is for the protection of her subjects. Before the coming of Kairos, during the ages of anarchy and discord, powerful knowledge in undeserving hands leveled empires without thought of mercy. Kairos had no desire to revisit these dark times. You are exceedingly curious about the application of Kairos' law. I find it refreshing that you would seek my counsel. I guess that's it. Oh, that was a lot of reading. That was like half an hour straight of talking. Now it's time to go to Lethian's Crossing. My throat is super dry. That was a lot of talking. So, let's go to the crossing. We have that ring to find out what it does. We also have to go into the old walls, as is banned, basically. But we don't really have a lot of choice in the matter. It's kind of important. We're going to... I guess we can't go to the Runic Hall yet, but let's go straight there. 2 days, 13 hours, a nice easy walk. I'm just gonna have a sip of water here. Hopefully clear up my throat a little. Oh. Definitely a little bit parched. So yeah, we learned a whole lot of lore, and we got some wrath with Tunon. He doesn't really like our independent thought, which is going to be troublesome in the future. I have a feeling we're going to be on the wrong side of everyone's spear at the end of this game. But he said that we can take leeway in sending out the law. So as long as we keep the peace and we don't actively work against Kairos, we should be okay. Her armies are a little bit irrelevant in terms of the absolute peace. So yeah, we'll try that. You're a merchant. As you approach the entrance to Lethian's Crossing, you see two figures talking intently with each other. The woman points to the north as she talks. I don't know if we can afford to stay here. The region is too unstable, and our business is suffering because of it. If I have to pay one more toll or hand over more guard money, I won't have two rings to rub together. But where will we go? There isn't a single place in the tiers that's safe. The woman stops speaking when she sees you. Her face pales. Fatebinder, you returned. She bows quickly, shifting uncomfortably, and stares at you. Am I making you nervous? No, the word comes out as a shout, and she jumps a little. She looks down for a moment, regaining her composure. No. Her voice has a measured cadence as she speaks. I just never expected to find myself in front of the Fatebinder. Welcome back to Lethian's Crossing. What seems to be the issue here? Before I would have said it was the disfavored with their infinite list of rules, dour personalities, and a strict leader. But after your recent restructuring of power, that's not much of an issue. She clears her throat, nervously glancing around. Either way, it's too dangerous here, so I'm looking for a new place to ply my trade. Who are you? Me? Oh, Fatebinder. I'm simply a humble merchant, and certainly of no consequence. My assistant and I were just trying to determine where we should go next. Conducting business in Lethian's Crossing has become a little too volatile for my liking. Okay. Well, good luck to you, guys. I hope things go well for you. Let's go talk to Merchant Praxis. Good day, my fine friend. Could I interest you in all manner of provisions? There's no telling what might befall you on your travels. Tell me about the seal. I found it at the well. I don't recognize it, but one of the other merchants here might. Between us all, there has to be someone who has seen it in their travels. Okay. How about you, Merchant Basilla? Could you tell me anything about this seal? I found it in Vendry as well. Basilla looks at the seal for a few moments and shakes her head. Can't say I recognize it, but I don't really get into affairs of Lethian's Crossing unless I have to. Outside of Lethian's Crossing. Harkion Bronze might, though. He seems to be well-traveled. I'll come back later, then. Merchant Tychus says, welcome. Oh, yeah. Ring. Doesn't look like any seal I've encountered, sorry. Someone else might know, though. Okay. It is probably going to be this guy. Ah, Fatebinder, come to stock up, I see. Harkion Bronze, at your service. What can I do for you? Could you tell me anything about the seal? I found it in Vendrian's well. Let's take a look, shall we? Harkion takes the seal and turns it over. When he spots the insignia, he quickly deposits it back into your hand and wipes his palms clean. Where did you get that? It came from a merchant caravan that was ransacked. Suspected as much, he mumbles and worries his brow. So far off the normal trading routes, but why there? Why then? Why now? Maybe you could start by telling me about the merchants. He refocuses on you and nods. Of course, the sigil belongs to the Hand Over Quill Merchant Company. His lips tighten to form a violent pucker. Tell me more about the Hand Over Quill. They were once a powerful trade organization that, well, cups his mouth and glances around. Let's just say that you didn't want to get between them and a contract. What with Tunon's new laws in the Bastard City, the Quill slunk into the shadows of Kairos' authority, trying to keep a lower profile. If you're involved in any of their dealings, stay far away. A shipment of iron and weapons went missing. It was found with the seal in a house in Echo Call Crossing. He strokes the shadow of his beard growing beneath his chin. Suspicious, I agree, but war always has its little problems. He waves a hand in a dismissal. It doesn't add up. Now, if we can return to the subject of my wares, he smiles and readies to show you some fancy bauble. The weapons were meant for the disfavored, and the Vendrian Guard suddenly had iron weapons. The Vendrian Guard? Harkion drums his fingers on his mouth and considers, well, this changes things, I suppose. Changes things? What does Hand Over Quill have to do with the Vendrian Guard? First things first. Harkion clears his throat. This will come at a price. If something unfortunate took place and my connection were traced back to me, the consequences would be costly. Have you considered that shaking me down could be even more costly? He studies you a moment before his posture deflates. No, I suppose not. You can make my life far more difficult in the long run, can't you? If you breathe a word around of this to anybody, I will denounce you for the liar that you are, but he looks around to make sure there's no settlers close enough to overhear what is being said. I received instructions from the Fifth Eye to use Hand Over Quill to deliver iron weapons to Vendrian's Well Citadel. I don't question my orders, I just follow through. I don't know anything else. That's the truth. Very well. Thank you for your, things. Alright. Now we have to get into the old walls. So let's go back and talk to the leader of the town. I think he knows more than that lets on. And now we just loading screen. Where did he go? Is he dead? Is that a body on the ground? No, I think it's clothing. Well, where did he go? That jerk vanished without a trace. I don't like this. I don't like people vanishing. Let's go find him. I'm sure he's around somewhere. Also, we need to get into the old walls. That is our number 2-ish goal right now. That's a merchant. That's not who we need. That is his house. Maybe that's not... No, that was definitely his house. Maybe he's up by the old walls. Or maybe he's in the old walls area. Let's go take a peek. Can't hurt, I guess. Also, we're kind of running low on time. Perhaps now would be a good time to take a quick break. And then in the next video... we will actually go into old walls itself. I think that's a good idea, actually. So, like always, if you guys have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. There is the leader that we need to talk to. No, it's not. It's somebody else. But he's asked us to seal the old walls, so apparently we have to go find him again to open the old walls. We're going to take a look around anyways. So, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.